about what I'm talking about, go watch the previous video that we had to reset because shit wasn't working to my my standards here. And I know what this feed is capable of. So when it's not doing what it's capable of doing, I get suspicious. So today, we're talking about Epstein. Which, I honestly, I know Epstein is a distraction. We aren't directly talking about the genocide that's happening right now. And that's what everything is designed to be doing right now, is keeping us focused away from the genocide. Whether it's Iran, whether it's anything dumbass Trump or anything, it's all, you know, that sleight of hand. Hey, look over here, look over here, look over here, look. But at the same time, I don't think you can talk about Epstein without talking about the Israeli Mossad connections and the you know, it would be one thing if you read the histories, the narratives that they give us, and it was just each thing was in a completely different field and there was no connection. Well, then, yeah, it would be a stretch. You know, it would be hard to make the argument and, you know, sound foolish if there was no connection between each one and you were like, you know, you were doing what Christians do, where you're just like any little thing that you can maybe to your thing and make your thing seem more legitimate, you do. Even if it has nothing to do with your shit. Even if it's the biggest stretch in the world, you're still gonna jump at it and be like, no, I'm gonna. Morning, Doogie. How you doing?
Good.
Good. You sleep good? But no. The you know, like I said, the narrative we're given is just, it's too obvious. Or at least it is to me. If it's not to you, that's what I'd love to hear. You know, I'd love to hear what you're seeing that I'm not. And why. Not just that I'm an idiot, because I know I'm an idiot, but why I'm an idiot. What narrative do you know that differs from the one that I'm giving, that I'm just reciting? I'm not even, you know, this is what they want us to know. This is no, you know, I'm not some super sleuth detective, and you know, I got these hidden sources that I'm quoting and all that other shit. I don't like that stuff. All that stuff does is to me, it creates more skepticism, you know? And that's, you know, the Alex Jones special, is that he has secret sources in this place and that place that are giving him this information, and you just have to trust that it's true. I think that allows for, you know, too much exaggeration. I mean, that's all you have to do is you could just make it. I mean, if you're presenting the secret story, you can just make it up as you go. As long as it hits the talking points that people want to hear, then it'll work for you. Whereas if you're solely going off of the information that they want us to have, what argument can be given? This was something I figured out a long time ago. I got sick of hearing people say things like, "Oh, where'd you get that from?" Be like, "Oh, I saw this video on YouTube." Oh, a YouTube video. Alex Jones. Yeah, like the programming is already there. You can't, you know, you can't break people of that shit. That Alex Jones and the conspiracy theorist and all that other shit. It's an automatic sort of way out. If you're looking for the weasel way out, then it gives it to you. You know? And we've been programmed to accept that out. That's why the response is always the same. Oh, it's a conspiracy theory, Alex Jones. They used QAnon to create the next round of that. You'll never find a video where I am supporting QAnon. The entire time, I just kept thinking, like, who is behind this? What do you mean it's a secret group? They're not giving their identities. Like, why? You know? And it sure seems like everything that comes out fits the narrative that the current system wants. It makes the previous system look bad, but the current one is good. And you saw this when Oprah got arrested and Ellen got arrested, and there's supposedly these tunnels under the houses and all this other shit. And the people, this is when COVID was starting to kick off, and they were getting ready to do the lockdown bullshit on us and everything like that. Suddenly you have QAnon, of all people, of all groups, as the people are at that revolution standpoint, we're like, what the fuck is going on? Epstein, the whole Epstein stuff is big still, and Epstein is huge, actually. It dominates the media, and people are really starting to ask the questions necessary. Suddenly, QAnon is telling everyone to trust the plan. Sit tight. Don't band together and revolt. Sit tight. Trust the plan. That was the hashtag that was coming through. Wasn't it Oprah that got arrested? I don't know. I know Ellen did, but I thought it was Oprah too, where they found tunnels under Oprah's house or something along those lines. I don't remember. I don't care. It was all just bullshit. That's why I don't remember it, because it was all just more. How does anybody believe this stupidity? And so, like I say, I don't, you're not going to find me quoting a whole bunch of stuff that, will you get the door for me? That you have to trust, multiple different sources, and, you have to trust this person's secret source, that person's, like, all just a game at that point. It's all a manipulation. With my method, we're getting the main manipulation. There is no easy way out of this. You can't say that who's your source. You can't say, I mean, there obviously there's going to be the stupid people who come in and try to claim that Wikipedia isn't good enough. You can't be quoting Wikipedia. Which to them I always show the same video. The one I'm going to show you now. Which is this. Israeli news.
In conjunction with My Israel, has arranged instruction day for wiki editors. The goal of the day is to teach people how to edit in Wikipedia, which is the #1 source of information today in the world. As a way of example, if someone searches the Gaza flotilla, we want to be there. We want to be the guys who influence what is written there, how it's written, and to ensure that it's balanced and Zionist in nature.
I came here to learn.
Okay. Now, if anybody doesn't think that's telling, I don't know what else to provide you, right? Like, and then just sit here and say it's not a very reliable source. Says who? What other source do you recommend? You know, our entire lives, you know, when I was growing up before computers, you trusted the encyclopedia, right? You wanted to know something, the encyclopedia gave you the answer. Well, this is the modern day encyclopedia. And for those that say, well, anybody can just edit Wikipedia, you can't. You're just being stupid. You made, some of the pages have the illusion of being able to edit, right? Some of them make it look like you can edit the page. So you'll click the edit button and you'll make your little edit. And good morning, how are you? Yeah, inside. I thought this was for me. That's no fun. Thanks. Have a good day. Oh, it's another goddamn fucking DVD of the goddamn House of Cards or whatever it is. Game of Thrones bullshit. Oh, it's so terrible. But so the Wikipedia is today's encyclopedia, and I'm not saying that everything on Wikipedia is 100% true, but according to former Prime Minister Naftali Bennett, the guy I just showed you, back in 2010, he was acknowledging that Israel controls what you read on Wikipedia. And like I say, you might think you can edit it. You might be able to make the edit. The edit flags the system. The system then has a real person on the inside. Check your edit. If your edit works and fits the narrative they want pushed, then your edit stays. If your edit doesn't work, they get rid of it. Go ahead, go edit a page. Go find a page and edit it with something stupid, you know? Edit it with just some nonsense. Guy Williams is an idiot. You could put that, whatever, right? You show me that edit, and, you know, especially if it's like 24 hours later, you show me how that edit just stays on the page forever. Doesn't work that way. And then most of these pages that I read you, especially the pages that have to do with Israel, these are pages that are locked. There is no editing them. So for people to hide behind that this isn't a good enough argument, I really, like, this is only because you want to believe what you believe. And like I said, you know, I was on the other side of that. I dealt with lots of people who would say, where'd you, you know, the Alex Jones movies or something, some YouTube video. I got sick of that. So I started watching the news every day. And I did that for like 2 years. I don't know. Where I would get up in the morning and I would watch from 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning. I would watch the CBS morning news. Well, at first they would show you the repeat of the nightly news, of the midnight news. Then there was the early morning news for the half hour, and then it was CBS This Morning for 2 hours. And it went until 8 o'clock. And then from 8 to 9, I would watch the 700 Club. Because the 700 Club did have news. They would do news stories. And then the rest of it was just entertainment. It was just fucking stupid. But it was also proving, you know, my argument against that distraction, that Christianity distraction bullshit. I hadn't quite gotten to the Israel chosen bad guys narrative 100% yet. I was dabbling in it for sure, but it wasn't the main source yet. But I watched that until we got a few months into COVID. You know, I had done it that way for quite some time, but then once COVID happened, literally it was all COVID. That would be all you would hear about. 90% of the news that you would see was just this reiterating these COVID bullshit narratives over and over. 33 new cases, 33 new cases. Like, you would just see it over and over. And then it switched, then it was, partially COVID, but also go vote. You can't see your loved ones. You can't go visit your elderly in the old folks' homes. You can't go to the beach. You can't do any of that shit. You need to go stand in a line so then you can go into a voting booth and vote, because that was important back then. And this was the election after they showed you your vote doesn't matter. 2,700,000 more people voted for Hillary than Trump, and the AIPAC Electoral College put him in anyway. So for you to not see like for you to then go out the very next election and be like, voting is super important, you just have to be stupid. I just can't. You probably got shots. I don't know what else to say there.
Did you see the couple things like, oh, you haven't been
No.
able to see?
So eventually I just got so sick of watching the same fucking bullshit propaganda COVID narrative being pushed on us that I just stopped watching it. I couldn't take it anymore. And at that point I felt, I never thought the news was true, but I thought, this is what they want us to know, so I want to know what my fellow compatriots know. When somebody says, oh, where'd you hear that story? I want to be able to say, well, I saw it on the news this morning. Didn't you see it? Like, I wanted that. I again, knowing it's propaganda and bullshit for sure, but I want to know what propaganda bullshit you know. Hey, wait. Check the thing. In the summertime, it's a lot quicker. Okay, I'll check it when you get home then. So when I stopped watching it, I ended up feeling like I was uninformed, like I didn't know, it was just this sort of this hole that was there. So I tried to figure out, like, how can I fill this hole? Where can I still get the information from, but not have to sit through the same bullshit propaganda over and over again? And then obviously it dawned on me, well, go read the news. So then the question is, all right, what news do I read? And again, it dawned on me, or I remembered that several times in the past, I'd looked up some sort of Israeli news story, and then weeks later, months later, it would happen here. And I had sort of started to make that switch. Like, my Facebook feed was allowed to succeed really, really well. We had a pretty good run for a while there. And even as a truther, I was allowed to succeed until January of 2020, just before COVID hit, when I made the announcement that I will no longer be focused on chemtrails and the Christianity bullshit and the government. I didn't want to get distracted anymore. I was solely going to focus on cutting Israel off and using that money to fund a proper pedo hunter program where we can get these people killed. And it was like I made this declaration on my feed that this was going to be my new perspective, new focus. And literally the next day, shit changed. All these new people start showing up, and at first it was like they fucked up, and they would share the shit. They had these groups that would watch, and just what they're doing here for the most part. But it backfired on them. So eventually they just kind of pulled back, and now it's Now if I go live on Facebook, I get a notification that my internet connection is slow, and I might get I have 6,000 plus following on Facebook, and go live to maybe one person. They completely shut everything down. And Facebook is where the music is, and Facebook is, you know, the social network. It's not like it's YouTube. But it was at this time where I started reading Israeli news every day. And just seeing if my theory was correct, that you could predict what was going to happen here based on the Israeli news. And time again, it worked out that way. And then, you know, prior to October 23rd, 2023, for like 8 months, I was telling you guys, like, this is about to happen. You know, October, 6 months, more 6 months. I don't remember exactly when I first said that Israel, by December of 2023, Israel will have done some sort of false flag that they then institute the genocide. I predicted it. I put everything on it. I said that if it didn't happen by December, I would quit making videos. I would quit going live and just go about my regular life. And as different things would happen throughout the year, you know, you have the tiff between the executive branch and the judicial branch, and then that you know, they're not quite getting along, so the people are protesting. And their form of protest is that if there's some sort of conflict that arises in the next, you know, 6, 8, 10 months, year, well, they won't fight in it. That's the only thing they protested. That's the only, like, significant way they protested. And they weren't protesting that they were getting this bad rep because they were killing Palestinians. You know, at least 240 Palestinians had been killed by October 2023, by October 7th that year, in Israel's nightly raids where they took thousands hostage, and it just horrendous shit. And it's all getting exposed. They weren't protesting that. They were protesting that the governments weren't getting along, and that if something were to happen, we're just saying nothing's happened in a long time, but if something does happen, we're gonna desert. We refuse to fight in any sort of upcoming conflict. I mean, it's such a... I feel like if I was in court, I could easily make a case for what I'm saying, based off of the information that they gave us, not off of my own sort of, I just making shit up. This is literally what they told us time and time again. Israel buys 42,000 slaves, supervised laborers from India. 38,000 earmarked for construction, the other 4,000 for elderly care. Well, those were the jobs that Palestinians do. And it's not like they have this surplus of fucking job. They have this abundance of empty job positions that they needed filled. Who were these Indians supposed to replace? You know, there was all these, and nobody talked about that. Nobody talked about Israel buying slaves from India. You have to be kidding me. And yet it's fucking, it's insane. Like, it's just, oh, they're paying attention. They're paying attention. They're doing their job. Like I showed you guys earlier, it's Team Jorge. It's Act.io. This is what Israel does. You know, they have an automated, they have a system called AIMS, Advanced Impact Media Solutions, that automates centralized control of thousands of fake social media profiles. And they said they're closer to avatars. They're not bots. They're smarter than bots. Look it up. Team Jorge. Look it up. It was exposed. It was exposed in February of 2023. 2023 was this huge, huge year if you were paying attention. If you started paying attention after October 7th, well, you're going to get a different narrative. But they got exposed. And then there's Act.il, which is the human version of it, where they reward people with badges and prizes and all kinds of shit for doing this exact thing, for finding people like me and trying to interfere with their feeds. It's documented. There's no conspiracy theory about any of it. You can't prove me wrong. Never met a real human being that way. You can say certain trigger words to these bots, and they keep repeating the same things over and over. That's because they're limited. I mean, I'll do it again here. We'll just do it again. So, Team Jorge is the name given to an outfit of Israeli contractors specialized in the use of malign cyber activities, including hacking, sabotage, and bot farm-run social media disinformation campaigns to manipulate the outcomes of elections. Not individual YouTube pages, though. Just presidential level elections. The group was exposed in February 2023 after an award-winning undercover operation by journalists from Israel, France, as part of a consortium of investigative journalists. The organization has been active since at least 2015 and boasts of having manipulated 33 presidential elections worldwide, many of them in Africa, and in 27 cases with successful results. Their activities were revealed following a 2022 sting operation in Tel Aviv, carried out by 3 undercover journalists who posed as prospective clients and filmed their interactions with Tal, T-A-L, Hanan, H-A-N-A-N, the group's leader and former Israeli Special Forces operative, in which he explained the inner workings of the organization. He said that Team Jorge has existed for more than 2 decades and has been engaged in propaganda and disinformation activities in more than 30 countries. However, its first documented activity dates back to 2015, just before the whole Donald Trump fiasco. Their services have been available to government intelligence agencies, political campaigns, and private companies that wish to covertly manipulate public opinion. One of the organization's primary tools is a software package called AIMS, Advanced Impact Media Solutions. The software automates centralized control of thousands of fake social media profiles on Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, Telegram, TikTok, and others like YouTube. I don't know what else you can read from that. But then there's this, which is Act.il, completely locked page, by the way. Act.io was a social networking service used by supporters of Israel to oppose, quote, anti-Israel content such as the Boycott, Divestments, and Sanction Movement, BDS. Its activities were referred to as, quote, an online propaganda campaign and, quote, a virtual situation room for pro-Israel experts. Act.il directed its users to missions to like, comment on, and share pro-Israel material on social media. It also asked users to flag, report, and respond to criticisms of Israel. Users were guided how to respond, which might entail writing a reply using the provided talking points. That's why they all say the same fucking things. Or sharing or upvoting an allied comment. The app also provided users with ready-made memes promoting Israel's perspective for them to share. By completing missions, users earned points, unlocked badges, and had their scores displayed on leaderboards. Do you not, like, again, I don't know how else you read into that. What else do you get from that? And then you look at my feed 5 minutes ago, had 20-some viewers. Now suddenly we're down to 5. As I'm literally proving what I'm saying, using the resource that they want us to have. So it gives, so it admittedly has an Israeli influence, and it gives us a balanced Zionist perspective. If I was in court right now, like, how do you not think I have a reasonable argument? Look at this. Now I have 2 people. How does this make sense? So get this. You know how former Attorney General William Barr's father gave Epstein his first job at the Dalton Academy, right? He also, along with being the headmaster for the school, he wrote some science fiction books, 2 science fiction books. One of which is about an oligarchical society, interplanetary space adventure about a oligarchical society that runs the show and sexually abuses children.
What? Imagine that.
Of all the things he could have written about, that's the thing that he's written about.
Chance, will you let it cool off a second? I need those bags in the trunk. The
Okay, I'm not arguing with you.
clothes on the bench. I'm gonna see Rachel on Saturday.
I just, how much more obvious can it be? What? Oh. Is this us being the assholes we are, giving clothes to the poor people?
Those are clothes of my mom's that Rachel would wear.
Right.
Yeah.
Gotcha. And then you look at the comment section, right? And you see how it's literally the same type of bullshit over and over and over again. You know, it's the... I mean, it's not like they even hide it. The chances of that happening, it's like me writing a book, you know, about the same thing and then denying that, like, I don't know anything about it. Like, it's just, it's, you know, what a fucking joke. Was it low? All right, so because of that little interlude, so the Barr family, William Barr's grandfather was Jewish, but converted to Catholicism. No. They don't give the reason why. You would think it would be a pretty significant reason, right?
Who was he married to? What was her maiden name?
They were both Jewish.
Her maiden name?
Yeah.
His wife?
Yeah, they were, it says it. They were a Jewish family that converted. Coincidentally. Coincidentally. So, what people don't understand is, like, so if you're going into the Epstein narrative, you actually have to start with the earliest character sort of associated, which is actually Robert Maxwell, which is Ghislaine's dad.
He's gonna call you.
Right?
He's just been busy. He owns a auto.
Ghislaine is the you know, is the handler in the Epstein situation. Ghislaine was the main person. Epstein was the face, but Ghislaine was the real operative there. And her father was Robert Maxwell.
That's what how I answer when they hang up. Because they don't say nothing when they call.
Robert Maxwell, if you look into it, according to the top Israeli sources, because this is a British media mogul with Ukrainian origins, who whole family died in the Holocaust, so you can't double check any of it. You have to just trust the narrative. And he was super poor, so poor that him and his sister had to share a pair of shoes. But he somehow climbed his way up through the rankings. Like he went from, I don't know, corporal. I don't know what the lowest rank is, and he went from a foreign, he was a Yugoslavian soldier who was transferred into the British military and fought in Germany from Normandy to Berlin, and went from low rank to sergeant in like a year, and then another year later was made a captain. Because that's how that works, right? Military people, shouldn't that upset you? Shouldn't that upset you that that's the narrative that they give, that they're so much better and special and just so much better than us, that they can ascend the ranks of the military unlike the rest of us can? Like, don't you think it's strange that he can go from entry level to captain in 3 years or something like that? It's either 3 or 5, but I think it's 3. Doesn't that bother you? Don't you know people that have worked super hard to get to that captain status? Who would be insulted by the idea that it only takes 3 years? So if you go with Robert Maxwell, who was given, after he was found dead, supposedly, he was given the highest ranking Israeli military funeral somebody can be given, and buried in Jerusalem. And at his funeral, the prime minister of the time, Ehud Barak, I believe, said that, no, that's not right. I can't think of it. Whatever. Said that it could not be stated, everything that man did for Israel couldn't be stated on that day. Like, to think about how important somebody has to be. Some regular citizen. I mean, this isn't even it's not even a citizen. Some media mogul personality has to be given the highest ranking Israeli military funeral possible. That just doesn't seem to fit, does it? So when you look into, when you go from Robert Maxwell dying in 1991 to supposedly that being when Ghislaine and Epstein first start dating, like it's at the exact same time that these paths supposedly cross, although it seems like there's actually more to it, like they'd known each other for a lot longer than that. At least Epstein knew Robert Maxwell well. I didn't just stutter and say Maxwell well. I said he knew Robert Maxwell well. Oh shit. My bowl is being frustrating. So, now that we're on to Epstein's narrative starts with, he was, for some strange reason, given the job as a teacher at this prestigious Dalton Academy without having graduated from school, without having, the credentials to do so. And above, a whole bunch of other, I can't imagine how many other teachers would have been available and better suited for the gig, but instead they use this one guy who doesn't have the credentials, doesn't have any sort of background, who happens to be a pedo and gets in trouble, works at the school for 2 years, but gets dismissed because of inappropriate relations with students and inappropriate behavior towards students, female students. And knowing that he's this teacher who's getting dismissed, the CEO of Bear Stearns has a kid that goes to the school at the time and decides to give Epstein a job at Bear Stearns. After this man has been disgraced, gotten in trouble for fucking with students as the teacher of the school your kids go to, you think, I'm gonna give that guy a job. Who in their right fucking mind would do that? How would that even begin to make sense to anybody? But he was given that job at Bear Stearns, or at the Dalton Academy, by Donald Barr, who was the headmaster at the time, had been the headmaster for 10 years, and hiring Epstein is one of the last things he did before leaving the position and going into the private sector to make $1 gazillion, write his books and all that shit. Gives Epstein a job, leaves and goes and writes a book about a planet that's ruled by oligarchs who enjoy raping children. And even the hero of the story enjoys raping children. I mean, it's just, how can you make this shit up, man? If you did make this up, people would say, you can't do that. It's too obvious. It's too obvious. You can't make the story that obvious. That's silly. Nobody would believe that. Nobody would believe that the CEO gave the teacher who got dismissed from the school where his kids attended for inappropriate relations with the students, give him a job. Nobody would believe that. Nobody would believe that the guy who ends up becoming the poster boy for human trafficking, at least, a little bit, was given a job, an unqualified job, a job he wasn't qualified for, by a guy who writes a book about a society that rapes children. Like, a fantasy book. It wasn't like he was writing it like it was a negative. He was writing it like it was a fantasy. Nobody's going to believe that the guy that gave him the job, when he ends up dying, and there's a decision to be made on whether to do a full-on investigation into that death that's extremely, extremely fishy to begin with, that the guy who's in charge of making that decision is the son of the guy who gave him a job in the first place. Nobody's going to believe that. That's just too obvious. You can't make it. You have to not make it so obvious. You have to make it, I mean, it's just ridiculous to think that that would be the plot of a story. But that leads us into William Barr, of which we talked about already. But born and raised in New York City, Barr was educated at Horace Mann School, Columbia University, and George Washington University Law School. From 1971 to 1977, during that time, I mean, Epstein was hired in 74. Barr was employed by the CIA. Seriously, does this make any sense to you? I mean, isn't it obvious? He was a CIA operative whose father gave Mossad agent Epstein a job when he shouldn't have. You don't think that's connected? He worked for all these different things before becoming Attorney General, blah, 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 blah. Barr is a longtime proponent of the unitary executive theory, which gives the President of the United States the sole power over the executive branch. That totally makes sense, doesn't it? Bypasses all restrictions and all that shit. The President solely is in charge of the fucking entire executive branch. And William Barr is a huge proponent in that for that. Look at that. Like, share, sub if you're watching, guys. 11 viewers and 6 likes. Shouldn't the algorithm be tripping over itself to show people the guy that's has 11 viewers and 6 likes? He's a proponent of the unitary executive theory of nearly unfettered presidential authority over the executive branch of the United States government. In 1989, Barr was the head of the OLC, justified the U.S. invasion of Panama to arrest Manuel Noriega. As Deputy Attorney General, Barr authorized an FBI operation in 1991 which freed hostages at the Talladega Federal Prison. Killed a bunch of prisoners. An influential advocate for tougher criminal justice policies. It just seems like such a slap in the face. This guy wants tougher criminal justice for us, but clearly, not for them. Rules for thee, not for me. An influential advocate for tougher criminal justice policies, Barr, as Attorney General in 1992, authored the report, The Case for More Incarceration. Jesus Christ. This is the guy who thought there shouldn't be an investigation into the Epstein stuff. Where he argued for an increase in the United States incarceration rate. Under Barr's advice, President G.W. Bush in 1992 pardoned 6 officials involved in the Iran-Contra scandal. Like, literally, they think it's funny. They have to think it's funny. To say in one sentence, an influential advocate for tougher criminal justice policies, Barr, as Attorney General in 1992, authored the report, The Case for More Incarceration, where he argued for an increase in the United States incarceration rate. To then say, under Barr's advice, President George W. Bush in 1992 pardoned 6 officials involved in the Iran-Contra scandal. I mean, what? It's a joke, right? It's a fucking joke. They have to think that shit's funny. He wants us to be incarcerated, but let's pardon on December 24th, 1992, after he had been defeated for re-election by Bill Clinton, President George W. Bush. So after he's been defeated in one of his last acts as a president, pardons 5 administration officials who'd been found guilty on charges relating to the affair. They were Elliot Abrams, Dwayne Calridge, Alan Fears, Claire George, and Robert McFarlane. Bush also pardoned Casper Weinberger, who had not yet come to trial. Attorney General William Barr advised the president on these pardons, especially that of Casper Weinberger. Let's see. Weinberger was born on August 18th, 1917 in San Francisco, the younger of two sons of Herman Weinberger, an attorney, and Cerise Carpenter Weinberger, a music teacher. His father was Jewish, descent from Austria-Hungary, meaning Ukraine, while his maternal grandparents were of Christian descent from Wisconsin. Gosh, what a coincidence. Let's see, Elliot Abrams. Elliot Abrams was born into a Jewish family. Dwayne Claridge, Dewey, they called him. Oh, well, there is no early life for him, so we don't get to know what his background is. Alan Fears was born in Ohio and led by a family of by an evangelical Christian minister. Well, there you go. So we have 2-1. Robert McFarland was the son of Texas Democrat Congressman William McFarland. After graduating high school, well, we don't get to hear what he is. I guess he must be Christian then, right? And Claire George was born in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Oh, that's a dude. His father was a dairy chemist, nicknamed Red because of his hair. Debating, he was in law. It doesn't say. It doesn't actually say what he is here. But Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, I know you automatically probably think Amish, but there's also a very large chosen population there. We should do the Iran-Contras one day. But William Barr really advocated for tougher prison sentences, just not for them. Barr became Attorney General for the second time in 2019. During his term, he received criticism for many of his handlings of several challenges, including his letter on the Mueller report, investigations in the convictions and sentences of former advisors to President Trump, Roger Stone and Michael Flynn, his order of the federal government to resume federal executions after 17 years, and allegations of political interference in the removal of Jeffrey Berman from his Southern District of New York attorney position in a matter pertaining to the indictment of Turkish bank Halkbank, a bank with close personal ties to Recep Tayyip Erdogan, who happens to be, let's see, a poor conservative Muslim family. So we've got a Muslim here. Gee, it's almost like they work together. On December 1st, 2020, contradicting Trump's false claims of widespread interference following his electoral defeat, Barr stated that FBI and Justice Department investigations found no evidence of irregularities that would have changed the outcome of the presidential election. Right, because they needed Trump to be president during this time. He got reprogrammed really well. He got to take some time off. Like, think about how often you saw Trump between 2020 and 2024. Or 2023, I guess. He just disappeared. The last thing you saw of Trump was him walking out to the helicopter with YMCA playing, wasn't it? Was it YMCA? Or Macho? It was one of those. Barr is the second person to ever serve 2 non-consecutive terms as U.S. Attorney General after John J. Crittenden. Gosh, he must be something special. Barr was born in New York City in 1950. His father, Donald Barr, was an educator and writer who taught English literature at Columbia University before becoming headmaster of the Dalton School in Manhattan and later the Heckley School in Tarrytown, New York, both members of the Ivy Preparatory School League. Barr's mother, Mary Margaret, also taught at Columbia. Barr's father was raised Jewish but later converted to the Roman Catholic Church. His mother is of Irish Catholic ancestry. Barr was raised as a Catholic. Barr was the second of 4 sons, and his younger brother, Stephen Barr, is a professor of physics at the University of Delaware. I wonder, Stephen Barr is born 3 years later. So Stephen Barr more than likely went to school with Epstein. That's where that connection is. That's why Epstein, would have been in the good graces of his father and got that job. Barr grew up on New York's Upper West Side, surrounded by Jews, but he wasn't one. As a child, he attended a Catholic grammar school, Corpus Christi School, and then non-sectarian Horace Mann School. After high school, he attended Columbia University, where he majored in government and graduated with a Bachelor of Arts in 1971. Barr was also an active member of the Sigma Nu fraternity. Wait, he got his bachelor in 1971. Wasn't he in the CIA? When did he do the CIA? So he was in the CIA from 71 to 77. So he literally went straight from getting his bachelor's into the CIA. Okay, that makes sense. I do want to see what this Sigma Nu is. Sigma Nu is an undergraduate college fraternity founded at the Virginia Military Institute in 1869. Since its founding, Sigma U has chartered more than 279 chapters across the United States and Canada and has initiated more than 235,000 members. It is part of the Lexington Triad, a trio of national fraternities that were founded at colleges in Lexington, Virginia. The fraternity is a member of the North American Interfraternity Conference. Like, that doesn't look like a shadowy overlord type thing. And I would love to know what all these symbols mean, but you won't find any sort of explanation to it. And you also have to know that everything in this, every little piece of this means something. Like the number of rays coming off of that central star means something. You can see that if you connect the points on the top center logo, that star thing, it actually makes the upside down star, the upside down 5-pointed star. That everybody goes, oh, the Baphomet. Then you have a knight of some sort underneath it. You have the black and white cord underneath the star. And I can't see what's actually inside the star. It looks like it's some sort of character, but I can't see what it is. You can kind of see it, but I can't make out what that is. Looks like the Kool-Aid Man, kind of. But then you have the black and white rope above the faceless knight with the helmet open too. Notice how the helmet's open, the face shield is open. Then you have another variation of the star, right? It's literally another variation of the upside down star. You have the bayonets of some sort. And then of course you have the snake making whatever shape that's supposed to be, because that's very specific as well. On the shield, and at the bottom it says E, it doesn't say E, it has that weird M, sideways M, N-E-T-T. So you can't say it's an E because there's an actual E there. So whatever that letter is, and then it's also the shield is cloaked by some sort of weird, shadowy thing. It's interesting. That's an interesting logo. Here's the member badge. The member badge is another upside down star with those same letters in the star, all underneath an X made of bayonets. Each letter is underneath one of those Greek letters. And then in the middle is, oh, the middle is the snake. It's just turned a different way. It's like, you can see it like that. But again, you have the upside down star. Interesting. And you know, there's so many people that'll say, like, they think that that's just coincidence, I guess. That grass got spoiled for years, man. Those old people love that grass. If you're not spoiling it, it's going to do that to you.
Yeah, I know.
I don't blame you. I think lawn work is stupid, but whatever.
Gotta be done.
It's got to be done. Colors, black, white, and gold. Here's their flag. Again, with that not at all ominous snake with the red eyes, and you know, there's nothing suspicious about that. Why would a snake? So what? It's just a snake. The flower is the white rose. The white rose is a modern cultivar group of garden roses that was developed by crossing hybrid teas with polyantha roses. The latter being derived from crosses between Rose chenilius and Rose mfefefe. The idea was to create roses that bloomed with the polyanthian profusion, but with the hybrid tea floral and color range. The first polyanth hybrid tea cross, Red Riding Hood, was introduced by the Danish breeder Dines Poulsen in 1907. It possessed the characteristics, blah, 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 including continued design of work, subsequent years, introducing several hybrid polyanths such as Else Polian in 1924. Varieties and other breeders began introducing similar. So they had the flower for this organization before the flower was invented. Founded in 1869. The white rose wasn't even a thing then. Okay. All right, let's see the history. Sigma Nu was founded by James Frank Hopkins, Greenfield Quarles, and James McVine Riley. Do new things like this still get founded to this day? Are they still founding new fraternities to this day? Does that shit happen a lot? I don't know. So these are the gents that founded this. That's a real looking picture. And then this guy. Okay. These look real. When you know what photography was capable of back then, to think that this is what they're showing you is just strange. Okay, it was founded by those three guys shortly after Hopkins witnessed what he considered a hazing ritual by upperclassmen at the Virginia Military Institute. James Frank Hopkins, Greenfield Quarles, and James Riley, I'm not saying this, McLevine, I don't know, McLevine, enrolled at the Virginia Military Institute in 1866. Hopkins entered the institute at age 21 and was, at the time, one of the oldest cadets entering the institute. Both Hopkins and Quarles had served in the American Civil War as Confederate soldiers. At this time, many secret societies were being formed on the VMI campus. In Hopkins' third year at VMI, he joined the Masonic Lodge in Lexington. The Masons inspired him to create a similar organization at VMI. Hopkins shared his ideas with Quarles and Riley, and in October 1868, the three came together on a limestone rock on the edge of the VMI parade ground to form the Legion of Honor. The three founders would go on to bring others into the Legion of Honor over the rest of the year. On January 1st, 1869, the founders, along with the rest of the members of the Legion of Honor, held their first official meeting at Sigma Nu. 1 year later. The fraternity's existence remained secret until the founders publicly announced their new society in January 1st, 1869. But that's stupid, because it says on January 1st they had their first meeting. And they were only... So wait. He shared his ideas with Quarles and Riley, and in October 1868, the three came together on a limestone ground to form the Legion of Honor. January 1st is what? October, November, December, 3 months later. And it doesn't say when in October, so it could have been at the end of October when they did that. What sort of secret society did they have that's even worth mentioning that existed for 3 months? But then it says the fraternity's existence remained secret until the founders publicly announced their new society on January 1st. That was when they came together. That was 3 months after its creation. What the fuck are we talking about here? Hopkins designed the fraternity's badge, which stands mostly unchanged from its original form. The badge was introduced in the spring of 1869. Each early members, Edward Arthur and Linton Buck, both wrote the original Constitution and law, respectively. Some conflict arose because Arthur had been a member of the Honduras Immigrant Society and had included some influences from the organization in the Constitution. Buck felt these influences should be removed. His revision became the first law of Sigma Nu. There were many efforts in the beginning years to establish chapters at other schools. Like, think about this. How? 18 fucking 60s and 70s? How were they going around to all these different schools to start chapters of their secret society? What's the benefit to that? Don't they have jobs? Or at least homesteads and shit? Think about that. There's so many stories from the 1800s and 1700s and shit, and actually in all of history, but where these people are just traveling all around like it's no big deal. Ben Franklin used to spend time in Europe all the time. That's a big deal back then. They don't have cars. These guys are what, riding around on horses doing this shit? And again, like, to just think like you know of these other universities scattered all around the country, you know about them? How? What maps were you using? What roads were you traversing? I know people think, blah, 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 blah. Well, I mean, seriously, think about it. These long stretches, many, many miles that they would supposedly travel. How did they eat? How did they do anything? Where did they stay? Think about what you think in your head 1800s looks like. And it's weird because when you think about it, like, I know for me, when I look at pictures and paintings and all this shit from those time frames, I've always been, it always was there in my head. I just never let it come to the forefront because you're not supposed to. But just look at the architecture that all of these paintings incorporate. And ask yourself how it was built. Who the fuck built it? How did they get all their materials to build these things? The Vanderbilt mansions and shit like that. You know, the one Vanderbilt broad had the big main mansion in New York built. And to celebrate the opening, she had a $3 million party. At the time, it was $3 million. A $3 million party that had over 1,000 guests. Well, what, they all had their horses and carriages and they parked them? Did they have a big parking lot for the horses and carriages? And how was that even maintained? All these horses and their like, just think about the history we're presented. And then you don't even understand that there's a shitload more history than I think you realize. The pneumatic tunnel systems that existed. When you start asking yourself, wait, they had pneumatic tunnel systems? What do you mean? They had tunnels that you know, the mail was delivered through a pneumatic tunnel system in New York in the 1800s. They had the hub, and they would put the mail in the slot, and the mail would get taken by air to each destination it needed to go to somehow. What's up, Matt? Oh, I don't even bother. I know that the comments are just fucking stupid today, so I'm not even, you know. Why wouldn't they be? I have 12 viewers and 8 likes. The system isn't pushing my page like it should be. And I'm reading to you stuff that you know, #1 trending kind of stuff. Very pertinent stuff. And people just, you know, the only people that are here are somehow funny business. All right. There were many efforts in the beginning years to establish chapters at other schools. By 1883, Alpha Chapter chartered 11 additional chapters, of which only 3 survived. I mean, just think about like how many people were said to exist in each town and shit. We're talking low populations back at these times. And then to think that there's so many universities for all these people. How did all of these people go to universities back then? How was all this shit paid for? It really is fascinating to think like we're given these narratives and not really told to think about much of it. Just regurgitate it. Don't think about it. It's strange, man. One of many factors was the anti-fraternity sentiment during this time. Kappa Charter was established in 1881 at North Georgia College and State University. So, from Virginia to Georgia, there are Carolinas and shit in between. It's not like Virginia and Georgia touch each other. I don't think. I would imagine we're talking a decent distance at this point from Virginia, from Virginia Military Institute. Giving the fraternity an important member, John Alexander Howard. Howard suggested that the fraternity drop the use of Roman numerals for charter designation in favor of using a Greek letter designation. For what? For what? What's the point of that? He also is responsible for the creation of the Delta Sigma News Fraternity magazine, which was first published in April of 1883. With all the printing presses and shit that were just available to these college fraternities, these like, seriously, what? Think about how weird that is. This is such a short period in people's lives. The name the Delta originated from the location of the 3 active charters of Sigma Nu forming a delta. Howard's editorials in the Delta inspired Isaac P. Robson, founder of Lambda Chapter, to propose a convention for the national fraternity. On July 10th, 1894, Sigma Nu's first convention was held in the Maxwell House Hotel in Nashville, Tennessee. See, this is what I mean. Like, they make it sound like it's 1884. How are people just traveling all over the place like this? Again, think of what you think 1884 looked like. Even if you say they took the train, well, they had to go from their house to the train station. Then the train comes, and then they have to go from wherever they are to the hotels, I guess, that existed at the time, where they would then go to the meeting halls. And, like, just think about what we're talking about here. It seems like there was obviously a lot more going on than they let us realize. The first national headquarters for the fraternity was established in Indianapolis in 1915. Indianapolis? What? It relocated to Lexington, Virginia in 1958. Additional wings were added to the headquarters building in 1969 and 1994 for Sigma Nu's 100th and 125th anniversary. In 1909, Sigma Nu was a founding member of the North American Interfraternity Conference. The first chapter of Sigma Nu chose as its motto, Nulli Secundus, a Latin phrase meaning second to none. The fraternity's values are summarized by principles or pillars of love, honor, and truth. Because of its military heritage, Sigma Nu retains many military trappings in its chapter ranks and traditions, and places importance on the concept of personal honor. The fraternity's mission statement is to develop ethical leaders inspired by the principles of love, honor, and truth. Aw, hippies. To foster personal growth of each man's mind, heart, and character. To perpetuate lifelong friendships and a commitment to the fraternity. Sigma Nu's colors are black, white, and gold. Its flower is the white rose, specifically the wild English floribunda. Its song is the White Star of Sigma U. Its publication is the Delta. I wonder what the lyrics to the White Star of Sigma Nu is, because it's not blue, so I can't see it. Its gold badge was designed by Hopkins, one of the fraternity's founders. It has a round center with a golden coiled serpent on a black enamel background. From the center are 5 arms that feature a pair of crossed swords and a single letter on a background of white enamel. The letters effectively spell the Greek letters sideways M, N-E-T-T. What's that mean? Its pledge pin looks like the center of the member's badge. Notable members. I click on notable members. It says, since the founding of Sigma Nu, it has initiated over 235,000 members. That's it. That's it. That's the notable members. Fuck you. You don't get to know shit. Controversies and member misconduct. The fraternity began debating allowing non-white and Jewish members shortly after the Supreme Court of the United States desegregated schools in 1954. In 1964, following a failed civil rights amendment to the Sigma Nu's Constitution, the Dartmouth College chapter seceded from the fraternity in protest. The organization did not allow non-white members until the late 60s. The Dartmouth chapter rejoined in 1983. Actor John Hamm, a member of the Epste1n chapter, was arrested for participating in a violent hazing in November 1990, during which pledge Mark Sanders was beaten with a paddle and a broom. Led by Hamm around the fraternity house with the claw of a hammer beneath his genitals, and had his clothes set on fire. The chapter closed, and Hamm completed the terms of a deferred adjunction. His charges were dismissed in 1995. In 2004, 9 members of Fresno State University were arrested for kidnapping after playing a prank on their vice president. Other students witnessed the prank and called the police because they thought it was a real abduction. In 2010, a fraternity member at Arizona State University stabbed a fellow member when he tried to throw him into a pool. Sigma Nu suspended all chapter events at the University of North Carolina, Wilmington, after a fight broke out at a party it hosted in February 2014, resulting in an East Carolina University student driving with a U.S. Marine on his hood. The driver hit a tree, killing the Marine. He was arrested for DUI and felony death by vehicle. Also in 2015, Sigma Nu suspended its chapter at Old Dominion University, pending investigation after they placed banners with slogans like "Rowdy and fun, hope your baby girl is ready for a good time," and the story went viral. In 2016, a Sigma Nu member at Texas A&M University died of an illegal drug overdose in the fraternity's house. 6 members were arrested for possession and distribution of illegal drugs on campus, such as cocaine, meth, LSD, MDMA, marijuana, heroin, and ecstasy. In October 2017, the deceased member's father, Eugene Gridnev, instituted a wrongful death suit against the fraternity itself, as well as several of the members present during his son's death. The lawsuit was settled out of court. Dude, how do you... Your kid did it. Nobody made your kid do drugs. Also in 2016, Sigma Nu suspended its chapter at the University of Nevada, Reno, when a freshman pledge fell down the stairs and died after a night of excessive drinking in the fraternity house. Wasn't a good year. In May 2018, the fraternity at Cornell University was suspended for 3 years due to hazing allegations reported to the university. According to university reports, their pledges were blindfolded, dropped off in a wooden area, pressured to excessively drink alcohol, hosed down while in their underwear, and were subjected to inappropriate gesturing, physical exercise, and homophobic slurs. Oh, Jesus. Jesus. In December 2019, isn't it strange how all these, there's so many fucking stories that exist starting in 2000, like the late 2000s, when the internet becomes a thing. Prior to that, what do you think, they were just super good and never got in trouble, or they had the power to shut everything down, all these stories down from coming out? 2019, the fraternity at the University of Central Florida was suspended for violating the university's code of conduct. A pledge was blindfolded and pressured to consume cocaine. He was also required to stay in the fraternity house for a week before being initiated. The fraternity was already under investigation for threatening to beat a man after he confronted them for randomly throwing drinks on him and others at a local bar. They sound like real assholes. In October 2021, the fraternity at University of Southern California was suspended following allegations of sexual assault against at least 7 women. In 2021, the fraternity at University of California, Santa Barbara was suspended after a second-year fraternity member died of an unsanctioned fraternity trip. How? In September 2022, the fraternity chapter at UCSB closed down following financial delinquency, alcohol violations, and dishonesty with the university and national organization. That is the the fraternity that William Barr belongs to. That is interesting. So back to William Barr. He did 2 additional years of graduate study at Columbia, receiving a Master's of Arts in Government and Chinese Studies in 1973. Big Chinese studies guy, huh? While at Columbia, Barr opposed anti-Vietnam War occupation protests by students on campus. So he was that guy. I'm sure he wasn't volunteering to go, but he was opposed to us not wanting other people to go. After moving to Washington, D.C. to work as an intelligence analyst for the CIA, Barr entered the evening student program at George Washington University Law School. He graduated in 1977 with a Juris Doctor with highest honors. Personal life. Barr has been married to Christine Moynihan Barr since 1973. She holds a master's degree in library science, and together they have 3 daughters: Mary Barr Daly, Patricia Barr Stroughton, and Margaret Meg Barr. Roseanne Barr. You didn't know that Barr was a J name when it didn't dawn on you, did it? Their eldest daughter, Mary, born 1977 or 1978. What do you mean? We don't know when she was born? Was a senior Justice Department official who oversaw the department's anti-opioid and addiction efforts. She was that important and we don't know what year she was born? Let alone a day. What? Patricia, born in 1981 or 1982. What? This is what? Why don't we know when these people were born? What? How does this make any sense? She was counsel for the House Agricultural Committee. And Meg, born in 1984 or 1985, is a former Washington prosecutor and cancer survivor of recurrent Hodgkin's lymphoma, was counsel for Republican Senator Mike Braun of Indiana. Why don't we know when these people were born? I don't understand. I've never seen this before in a modern setting like that, where they go out of their way to tell you this shit, to point out to you that they don't know when these members of the government were actually... If this doesn't seem like manufactured bullshit to you, I don't know what else to show you. In February 2019, as their father awaited Senate confirmation for his appointment as Attorney General, Mary left her post at the Department of Justice as the Trump administration's point woman on the opioid crisis and took a position at the Financial Crimes Enforcement Network, the Treasury Department's Financial Crimes Unit. Her husband, however, continued to work in the Justice Department's National Security Division. Around the same time, Mary left the Department of Justice. Tyler McGonaghy, the husband of her youngest sister, left the U.S. Attorney's Office in Alexandria, Virginia, to join the White House Counsel's Office. Again, you just chalk that all up to coincidence, huh? Now we have religion for some reason. Barr is a Roman Catholic and is a member of the National Catholic Prayer Breakfast. Barr served from 2014 to 2017 on the board of Catholic Information Center. I wonder if we'll talk about his time in Alaska. And of the Archdiocese of Washington, an Opus Dei Center and nexus of politically connected Catholics on K Street. K Street, is that like J Street? Opus Dei has denied that Barr is a member. However, his views in favor of the death penalty were criticized by the Jesuit magazine America. I don't even understand why would that be a however. Barr is an enthusiastic bagpiper. He began playing at age 8 and has performed competitively in Scotland with a major American bagpipe band. At one time, Barr was a member of the City of Washington Pipe Band. During the U.S. Attorney's National Conference on June 26, 2019, Barr surprised attendees by standing up in the middle of a New York PD Emerald Society performance and joined them in playing Scotland the Brave with a bagpipe. Barr and Robert Mueller have known each other since the 80s and are said to be good friends. Mueller attended the weddings of 2 of Barr's daughters, and their wives attend Bible study together. And honors. Here's the honors that he has. In 1992, he was awarded an honorary Doctor of Law by George Washington University. So he didn't actually get it. It's an honorary one, meaning he didn't have to go through all the schooling and pay for it, and he was just given the oh my God. Russian interference in 2020 U.S. elections. Timeline of investigations into Donald Trump in Russia. Timeline of investigations into Donald Trump in Russia. Timeline of investigations into Donald Trump in Russia. Trump-Ukraine scandal. That's the see alsos. And that's about it. Oh, political positions. A lifelong Republican, Barr takes an expansive view of executive powers and supports law and order policies, unless it's his people. Considered an establishment Republican at the time of his confirmation, Barr gained a reputation as someone loyal to Trump and his policies during his second tenure as Attorney General. His efforts to support the sitting president politically during the DOJ office tenure have been viewed as the most strenuous since those of another law and order Attorney General, John N. Mitchell. As Deputy Attorney General, Barr, together with others at the Department of Justice, successfully led an effort for the withdrawal of a proposed Department of Health and Human Services rule that would have allowed people with HIV/AIDS into the United States. He also advocated for the use of Guantanamo Bay to prevent Haitian refugees and HIV-infected individuals from claiming asylum in the United States. According to Vox, in December 2018, Barr supported an aggressive law and order agenda on immigration as Attorney General in the Bush administration. What's funny is there's something actually called the Epstein-Barr virus, which is one of those things that's only associated with vaccines. Look, we have another trumpet who is a huge pedophile. I don't know what else you would call him. Fucking pedophiles, man. Barr supports the death penalty, arguing that it reduces crime. He advocated a Bush-backed bill that would have expanded the type of crimes that could be punished by execution. In a 1991 op-ed in the New York Times, Barr argued that death row inmates' ability to challenge their sentences should be limited to avoid cases dragging on for years. This lack of finality devastates the criminal justice system. It diminishes the deterrent effect of state criminal laws, saps state prosecutional resources, and continually opens the wounds of victims and survivors. I wish I could see the full video of Barr breaking down on TV when he was first put into the position, and it was during one of the Trump impeachment sort of hearings, and it was Barr sitting there against the entire panel, and Barr starts breaking down, starts sweating, starts stumbling, can't make any good points, to the point where it was only like 5, maybe 8 minutes into it. For some reason, his opponents, the Democratic opponents that he had, saw this man breaking down and not able to convincingly play his role. So instead of like turning up the pressure, Schiff says, let's, you know what, we're going to take a quick 20-minute break and then we'll come back and finish this up. And then for some strange reason, every single news agency or every single channel that was covering it that interrupted regularly scheduled program to do this didn't feel like coming back. There was nobody showed the second part when they supposedly came back and finished out the meeting with a Barr that was more under control. And then right after that happened is when they shipped Barr off to Alaska, to a town in Alaska where, you know, no government official had been to in like 80 some years. They ship him off up there for 3 weeks and everybody just forgets about him. In 2009, Barr announced, on July 25th, 2019, Barr announced that the United States federal government would resume its use of capital punishment under his leadership. After nearly 2 decades without an execution, Barr ordered the Department of Justice to adopt a new lethal injection protocol consisting of a single drug and ordered execution dates to be set for 5 inmates in December 2019 and January 2020. Man, I wonder what else was going on at that time. On July 14th, 2020, Daniel Lee Lewis became the first death row inmate executed by the federal government since 2003. 12 more individuals were executed by the Trump administration. No administration in 120 years had overseen as many executions. Barr has been attributed as playing a key role in the administration's use of execution in prisons. I don't want to read any more of like the abortion thing. I'm sure he's totally against it and totally against women having any sort of choices. Drug policies. Barr supports a federal ban on marijuana. Right there. That's all you have to say. 2016 election. Barr donated $55,000 to a political action committee, to a PAC that backed Jeb Bush during the 2016 Republican Party presidential primaries, and $2,700 to Donald Trump during the general election campaign. Whole $2,700, huh? Race relations. In June 2020, amid the George Floyd protest against racism and police brutality, Barr said he rejected the view, quote, that law enforcement system is systematically racist. You're all wrong. In a CNN News interview in September 2020, Barr denied that systematic racism plays a role in police shootings of unarmed African American men, and called such shootings by white police officers very rare. Derek Chauvin, the officer who murdered Floyd, was willing to agree to third-degree murder and serve more than 10 years in prison. Barr rejected a plea deal. So, in 2020, Barr suggested bringing sedition charges against disruptive looters and rioters, and a legal tool that is rarely used by the United States government. Sedition charges are normally reserved for those who conspire to overthrow, put down, or destroy by force the government of the United States. According to blah, blah, blah. Such suggestions have brought fears that Barr is politicizing the U.S. Justice Department and, if enacted, would mean that the Justice Department could prosecute individuals based on political speech. So there's literally nothing about his connection to Epstein. You would think that would be a huge, a huge piece in this puzzle. There's over, let's see, how many references do they actually have that were used in this article? There were over 379 different references used to create this article, and not one of the things talks about Epstein. Isn't that strange? Like, seriously. Here he is with President Ronald Reagan. This is what he used to look like. Sure did gain some weight in those older years, huh? Oh, look, now he's smiling with his teeth is showing. He didn't show his teeth in later years. First tenure. I want to see if there's any investigations. There should be one about motor surveillance. I mean, he has tons of shit here. Holy fuck. In 1998, comments about the Trump administration. Clinton manner. Political donations. $85,400. Barr donates 5 times around $10,000 every month for a total of $51,000. National Republican Senatorial Committee. He's giving all kinds of money to them. U.S. Attorney General. Roberts, second tenure, Associated Press. Okay, let's see. On July 8th, 2019, Barr announced his recusal from the Justice Department's review of the 2008 federal prosecution of American financier and convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. So a month before Epstein's death, he announces his recusal from the investigation or the review. I would assume because he had personal ties to him, like he should have. So why didn't he recuse himself after the fact? On August 10, 2019, Epstein was found unresponsive in his jail cell at the Metropolitan Correctional Center. Barr later announced that the Justice Department officials were investigating serious irregularities at the Metropolitan Correctional Center. In mid-August 2019, Barr had a rare face-to-face meeting with Trump and Giuliani associates Joseph DiGenova and his wife Victoria Tonsing, because, again, different last names, of course, who since earlier that year represented former Ukrainian prosecutor, but wait, are we just getting away from the Epstein thing? Oh, now we're going into this Ukraine thing, 155, yeah, so now we got to be, so they just mentioned the Epstein bit for a hot second, and then immediately go into Ukraine. What? Hunter Biden, uh-oh. I am just so fucking shocked here. I want to be done with this so bad. Mueller investigation and report. There's tons here. There's literally tons for like everything. Contempt of Congress. Big long thing. Origin on the Russian investigation. Big long fucking thing. And then when it comes to Epstein, there's just nothing. Investigation in cases of Trump associates. Ethics complaints. Health investigation and the firing of Jeffrey Berman. George Floyd protests. Another big long one here. 2020 presidential election. resignation. On December 14th, 2020, Trump announced via Twitter that Barr would be resigning from his post as Attorney General effective December 23rd. Barr further confirmed his resignation in a letter to Trump on the same day. In summarizing his tenure, Katie Benner of the New York Times wrote that Barr brought the Justice Department closer to the White House than any other Attorney General in a half a century. Barr made decisions that devotailed precisely with Mr. Trump's wishes and demands of his political allies. CNN summarized his tenure. Similarly, Barr repeatedly and unapologetically prioritized Trump's political goals while furthering his own vision of expansive presidential power. Ryan Lucas of NPR described Barr as one of Trump's most loyal and effective defenders. As examples of Barr's actions on behalf of Trump, these critics pointed to the fact that Barr made frequent false claims about the integrity of mail-in voting leading up to the 2020 election, misleadingly summarized Special Counsel Robert Mueller's report on Russian interference in the 2016 election, harshly criticized those who had investigated Trump, meddled in criminal prosecutions of Trump allies, and ordered the use of force on peaceful protesters across the street from the White House during the George Floyd protests so that Trump could go have a photo op at the nearby St. John's Church. You guys all remember that one, right? Post-DOJ career, don't care. Comments on failed Sussman prosecution, January 6th committee testimony, criticisms, political positions, and yeah, that's it. Literally nothing that has to do with Epstein. It's just this little brief Epstein connection, and that's it. That to me is such a huge element of this, and it's not even mentioned. It's just dumb. It's just crazy that it works this way, and you guys accept what you're given. I think if I was in court, I could make a really, really good fucking argument for something being fucked up with the whole Barr family. That it would entail an investigation. And I think if given the powers that come with, you know, a position of like his, where I could order investigations into this or that, or I could order the turning over of files and blah blah blah, I think it'd be pretty easy to show this man as a scumbag piece of shit who should be in prison, whose father should have been in prison. Now, I would love to know more connections between Barr and Epstein, if there are, and why it seems like that whole article, that whole narrative, is actually to distract you from the Epstein stuff. Because everything is like, oh, here, pay attention, and here, look. Oh yeah, then there's this Epstein thing. And then look, there's all this other stuff. Look. It's fucking nuts. Anyway. Go get your free download. Again, you have to go look at previous videos because lately I haven't been able to edit the description of these videos until after they upload. It's a new thing that they're doing to me. They sometimes used to do it, but now it's happening quite frequently. But free download, www.the-bilderberg-group.com. It's music about real shit that matters, not your teeth in your shoes. A link to Hollywoodism, the most important film ever made, explains literally everything that we talk about from their point of view, and them acknowledging and admitting to it. It's so impactful. And then 3 videos, music videos on our Facebook page for Donald Trump Hates America, COVID Sauce, and Sleight of Hand Job. Go check that shit out. Fuck everything Israel. And you pedophiles, you kill yourself. quickly, quickly. Do it. Like, seriously, do one good thing in your life. And that's the thing that we're not allowed to do to you because can't play God. So, kill pedophiles immediately.